So for the latest developments in Bolivia, we are going to Oliver Vargas in the department of Cochabamba. Oli, let's begin with the massive movement towards socialism rally you reported from yesterday. What are all these rallies being held for?
Well, thanks for having me on. Over the past week or so in this region, the Tropic of Cochabamba is called, all of the unions, and there are hundreds of unions in this region, they've all been holding meetings to strengthen their own internal organization at the grassroots level. That process is now winding up, and they want to have a more outward-facing approach, a more bullish attitude against the coup government of Janine Áñez. So yesterday was, in some ways, a show of strength. The strength or the mass the left in Bolivia still has. Some may say a warning to the government that if they try to militarize this region, as they have threatened to in the past, that there'll be stiff resistance. There was 50,000 people at the rally yesterday. Those are the organized indigenous groups, social movements, mostly from this region, but also from other parts of the country as well. So yeah, that rally, I think, certainly shows that the mass, despite persecution, despite the threats, is still the most organized political force and the largest political force in the country.
So, Ali, with reports that there is a warrant out for Evo Morales, what have people said about his possible return to the country?
Well, he himself has said that it's something that doesn't scare him. Everyone I've spoken to in Chapare says that this is something they don't recognize and that they are working to get the president back. They refer to him all the time as their president. They say his constitutional mandate is actually until the 22nd of January. And that's as per the election he won in 2014 with over 60% of the vote. So people are preparing for his return. He's been named as the campaign chief for the mass in any upcoming elections. A lot of people say they're happy for him to not be the candidate, not be the face of the mass in the coming period. They want new faces to come through. There's a number of different candidates have been spoken about, but there's a sense that everything that's come out of the government the past few days, this detention order, the threats to militarize the Tropic of Cochabamba, all of these are threats designed to draw people out so as to begin persecution and to strengthen the persecution that already exists. So people think that people have decided not to rise to these provocations.
So what's the situation there in terms of police presence and the military? You've reported that there has been a notable absence.
That's right. This region, the Tropico, is about 12,000 square kilometers. Here, the unions, the campesino unions, are very, very strong, and they have expelled the police. In fact, the police actually left themselves as the coup was taking place. They fled out of the region. They knew that the resistance to the coup would be too stiff, too much to contain, and they actually left. And since then, the community has said that they don't want the police to come back, that they are organizing themselves. The unions are running, have organized what they call union police. This is sort of community forms of policing. And everyone I've spoken to said that things are better now without the police. The things are safer, that the police often abuse their power when they were in this region. And now there's a sense of freedom that people are organizing their own communities. But it's also very politically important because it means that the state essentially has no control. The coup hasn't been able to rule over this area. And it's quite a strategically important area. Firstly, because it's Evo Morales' stronghold. If the state can't get into here to begin persecution, then Evo Morales' strongest base is free to carry on organizing as they have been. It's also important because it connects the cities of Santa Cruz and Cochabamba. That means that if protests begin, if people block roads, then all movement of goods between two of the most important cities in the country is then blocked off. So the government is very keen to re-enter this region.
And Ollie, my final question to you, what are we hearing about the elections? Who might be some candidates? Because we know the right-wing coup promoters, Luis Camacho, as well as the de facto leader, Janine Áñez, have already said they are intending to participate in the elections. But what about candidates or possible candidates from the Mass Party?
Well, here in the Tropical, Andrónico Rodriguez, the 30-year-old union leader, is absolutely the favorite. I think nationally, the names that have been coming up is David Choquehuanca, who's the current secretary of ALBA. Before that, he was the longest-serving foreign minister. Another name is Luis Arce, who was the economy minister under Evo throughout Evo's entire period. And he's the one who's many considered to be the brains behind the Bolivian economic model that brought a huge amount of development over the past 14 years, brought a 50% reduction in poverty through the nationalization of strategic industries. So these are some of the names that are coming up. In La Paz, the main indigenous organizations held a congress at which they formally nominated David Choquehuanca. He's seen as a respected figure. He's indigenous from the social movement, but also has a long period of experience in government and is well respected even outside the party. But there's also a strong desire that all possible candidates come from the base, from the movement. A lot of people here and the other mass meetings I've been to in the country say that they're tired of outsiders or middle-class sectors being parachuted in as candidates for the party. And they say that this is something that's been happening over the past years. They want there to be a much more organic form for selecting candidates in the future.
Thank you so much for joining us. We've been speaking to writer Oliver Vargas, who has been reporting in Cochabamba, Bolivia. We have more stories coming up, so stay with us.